Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group, and I'm super excited. I've got a very, very special guest, my main man, Jarrod. Jarrod, let everybody know who you are. You're like the boss. You know what I mean? Like, you only need one word, just Jarrod. You don't even need a last name, brother. You're so like lit right now.
I wish.
Tell everybody who you are and just a little bit your background before we kind of get into like the curriculum stuff.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
Yeah, so my name is Jarrod Glandt. I'm the president for Grant Cardone Enterprises. I've been with him for going on my 10th year, so it'll be 10 years in September. So I've been along for the whole ride. So we started, the car business was the only thing that we sold into. You know, social media was not what it is today. I think, you and I were talking about this when you were here. Like, we had a personal Facebook page, didn't have a fan page. Instagram didn't exist. Snapchat didn't exist. YouTube and Twitter. I think Grant probably had like 30 videos on YouTube. So I saw something in him that resonated with me, and I knew that it was a ride that I wanted to go on. And so I just showed up and, got to learn a lot working around him and seeing how he operates, seeing how he thinks and thinks about money, seeing what he does with money, which has been probably the biggest thing is just when you're around somebody, who's $50 million in a year, or, taking down a deal and making $100 million on a deal he owned for 3 years. Like, the numbers get so big that, usually it's the thing you hear about on the news. Like, you see like, oh, hey, this hedge fund guy, made $100 million this year. And it's a little removed from you. When you see it happening close next to you, it really starts challenging what you think you're capable of. And so that's been really exciting. To be around somebody who continues to grow and continues to reach for the next thing when, in all actuality, he's got enough money for 5 generations. I mean, somebody have to come in and really screw things up to destroy the wealth that he's created. So, it's just been a real honor to have the opportunity to work here and help a ton of people in the auto business with our training platforms and products, and then help the brand expand outside of the vertical. And we've got tens of thousands of customers all around the world. And 10X has really become a movement. So it's been pretty remarkable to be a part of it.
It is surreal to watch. And I gotta assume that being on the inside of it's a different perspective, obviously. You know what I mean? It's a whole different paradigm that you look at it. But for the rest of us that are watching this, what blew me away was when we were at that Lightspeed Summit, and I didn't know it was 8 years. That was what it was? You had 3 employees, and in 8 years, you jumped to how many?
We have 185 now.
Jesus. That's just mind blowing to be able to do. So before we get into like how everybody asks, like, how did you guys do it? I had just some personal questions from you. Yeah. To be the president of Cardone's companies, you got to be a badass dude. You're young. How old are you?
36. So
do you feel that you're on pace for a 36-year-old, like a high level 36-year-old? Or do you feel like, that you're not as far as you wanted to because of the whole being 10X,
Well, I mean, the numbers, if you look at the numbers for what people that are 36 years old should be making, then, obviously I'm at the very high end of the chart. But that's how people get in trouble, is they look and compare themselves to what's going on around them rather than understanding what they're capable of and what their potential is. And in that respect, I feel like I'm just getting started, and there's still a ton of runway. I mean, I'm 36 years old. I still got a lot of life left in me. So, I'm really excited to see where things go and just keep challenging myself. And, it's one of the things that, anybody at any point of their life should have the ability to do is to continue to reach for the next level and push themselves. And I think that when you don't have that, that's when people get kind of stuck. And if you feel like you're stuck, or if you feel like you're in a rut, or if your income isn't changing, if you don't feel like you have purpose and motivation, the chances are you're not focused on winning. You're not focused on doing more. You're not focused on making more. And you have no awareness on that every single day. And so you show up and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, one of the most powerful things that I ever did was because when I first started working here, obviously, it takes time to build a 7-figure income. It just doesn't happen, particularly when the company was just getting out of the gate. So, for me, it was 6 months of hard work, cold calling car dealers. Like, there were no leads. Grant Cardone was not Grant Cardone, and car dealers, most of them didn't want to talk to somebody that was trying to sell them training. They were trying to sell something. So it's like, it's not an easy call to make in the first place. And, when you have that much rejection, when you're making 250 calls a day and you're getting cussed out left and right, like, you've got to find a bigger reason or a bigger purpose to show up and do what you're doing every day. And so for me, what I did was I started thinking about, writing down my goals. It's so cliche and it's the silliest thing to say, but it's the one thing that made all the difference in the world to me. And so many people bail out on this and they don't do it. But really getting down to a point where you have goals every day. Like, you're writing goals down every day, and the targets that you have on a daily basis in order to reach your goals. And so for me, I struggled for a really long time. Even when I came to work for Grant, like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think a lot of people end up in a trap where they're like, I don't know what I want to do. And then they just kind of stay put and they don't really move. And so for me, what was easier to do, and what I think is easy for most people to do, is to figure out what you want. Like, rather than figuring out the mechanics of how you're going to get it, like, get to a point where you're like, this is what I want. And for me, that was always, fast forward to 60 and you're 60 years old. What do you want your ideal life to look like? Like, if everything were perfect for you, what would it look like? And come up with that, because that's exciting and that's real and that's it's something that you can actually make sense of, like the things that you would like to have. Because when the why gets strong enough, the how-to starts revealing itself. Like, when you know what you're doing, like, opportunities start coming up. When you're committed to something, your creativity goes through the roof. We say, you can't, if you're not committed, you'll have no creativity. And wherever there's lack of creativity, there's lack of commitment.
Jarrod, I'm going to jump in because you're hitting crazy nuggets here. So I would agree with you. Covey says from the 7 habits, the second habit is begin with end result in mind. Also, I believe full-heartedly that if you can visualize something, you have a higher probability of it materializing. I'm sure you've heard of, like, Rhonda Byrne's The Secret, the laws of attraction. When you say, begin with the goal, is it just mentally, or are you talking about also creating, like, vision boards, being able
dude, you got it has to be real to you. I said earlier, like, it needs to be real. So most people that write their goals, like, I'd say 99% of people don't even write their goals down every day. Okay. They rarely write them down. I mean, there's probably 99% of people don't have goals at all. And then the remaining 1% writes their goals once a year. Like, it's the most powerful thing you can do in life. And what happens is the people that are writing their goals down occasionally aren't even doing it the right way. And let me tell you what I mean. For a goal to be real, it can't be fantasy pie in the sky. Like I'll be doing a meeting for somebody, a sales meeting. And I'll say, are you guys goal focused? Oh yeah. We have goals. What are some big juicy goals that you have? And they're like, I want to make a lot of money. And I'm like, how much? And they don't even have any answer. They're like, I want to make a lot. How much? I want to make $1 million. I'm like, well, what are you going to do with that? Like, what is $1 million going to get you? You want $1 million in the bank, or do you want to make 80 grand a month? Like what is, like, how closely connected are you to that thing that you want? And it's the ability to get crystal clear on what it is that you want, So if it's 60 years old, I need to be making $3 million a year in passive income so that I can have, 3 months of the year here, and this is how much it's going to cost. And I want to have this car there, that car there. And I want to be able to spend this much on restaurants and trips and vacations and charities and blah, blah, blahs and all that stuff. My kids are going to be in college by the way. So I'm going to need 50 grand a year per kid for that. And then this city, I'm going to want like literally break everything down. And it's actually really fun and exciting to think about this ideal life, man. Like if everything were perfect. Most people are depressed in life because they hate their job and they don't even know what they're doing. That's why they're depressed, because the work that they're doing has no meaning. You can hate your job and have meaningful work. You can hate your job and have a tremendous amount of purpose when you show up every day. If you're showing up for the goal, and most people never do this. So for me, 60 years old, I need to have this much. It's got to be passive income because I don't want to be working.
Right.
And I need to have this much money for housing, this much money for trips, this much money for vacations and charities, blah, blah, blah. And like literally pencil the whole thing out. And then you may find out that 300 grand a month passive isn't enough.
Right.
You're like, oh, I need to crank that up to 425. Or maybe you find out, you're like, shit, man, all the stuff that I want in my dream life is going to cost me 80 grand a month. Dude, if I could get to 150, I could cover it. I could continue to reinvest. And then you start getting into like the reality of your target. And then once you figure out the ideal life, everything you want, and I'm not talking about like, oh, I want to be worth $10 billion. Like, okay, that's cool. But like, what is the thing that's going to make you happy? Because 10 billion isn't going to make you happy. That's a fake number that people just throw out. It's what are you going to do with it? And so once you figure out like what the ideal life is and what it costs, like for me, one of my goals is not to have a G550. Like I don't want a $50 million airplane right now. For me, my goals are based around freedom. Like they're all based around lifestyle and freedom. And it doesn't mean having my own G550. Right now, where I'm at now, when I'm 50, that might change. But right now it doesn't. Your goals are allowed to change, and they should. Because if you continue to develop yourself and educate yourself, your potential should grow. So your goals can't stay the same because you're capable of more.
Wow.
So anyways, the long and short of it is you got to get crystal clear on what you want, figure out how much it's going to cost, and then work your way back into the math for what you need to do every day. So maybe that big, juicy goal that you have that seems so far away is only 85 calls a day away. It's only a car deal a day away. Right. Like if you do the right things with your money. So you got to take something big and juicy and exciting and boil it all the way down to an activity that needs to be done today.
Okay, question for you now. Because you, obviously, Cardone on Demand, Grant himself doing countless amount of trainings. You, your guys, Jeff Bounds and Cardone Automotive Resources, you have a tremendous amount of experience in automotive. So I'm going to set the stage. As of 2020, the data is still in that the average attrition is between 70 to 80%, which is atrocious. One. Second is the mediocrity level. The average salesperson in the United States out of the 16,500 franchise dealership is delivering less than 10 units a month. So that I believe, I want your opinion, but I believe because most dealerships do a poor job in properly recruiting, onboarding, training, developing their talent. So if you have people that are listening to this podcast right now that are sales professionals, whether they're green peas or they're veterans, whatever, but they're in a situation where they're at a dealership that doesn't provide all this umbilical cord training and what have you, but you have an opportunity to do what you can do, what advice do you have for somebody that has no structure, no support from their dealerships that they can turn around and just start making some changes in their life and maximizing the automotive sales industry?
I can't tell you how many people that had zero skill, no training, hardly any experience that could crush it. And let me tell you why. Because their why was massive. My mom's got cancer and I've got to do something. And it creates this urgency. Like you don't need to be a well-trained person if you have the right purpose. Oof. So like to just take a step back, because yes, I agree with all the things you just said, but I think that dealerships, the management, not even ownership, like management, they don't take enough time to help people identify what the driving force behind the work that they're doing is. That way, if they connect with the thing that is most important to that person, then the car dealership becomes a way for them to get what they want. They could hate the work, but if they know it's getting them closer to the thing that they want, they're willing to take the short-term loss to get the long-term win. Like, dude, there are days that I don't want to show up here and I don't like my job, but I know that most days I like it. And at the end of everything, I'm making a brick of money and I'm getting closer to my goals every day. And I'm learning a lot, which is a goal of mine. Like, so I know that, like, even when I'm not feeling it, it can get me closer to the thing that I want. And that thing is worth doing something I don't want to do.
Okay. So no, I got, that's a huge nugget, being able to have that purpose. And that goes back to what you said before about beginning with the end result in mind. What is your mission, vision, what have you? And if they align, if your purpose aligns with what the goals are, you have a higher probability of actually making it happen. Okay. So let's be ultra specific though. Let's go like dive specifically. So I'm brand new. And let's just say that I was a Cardone client. I was on Cardone On Demand or it was support. And you just happen to be in the office because you're the president now. You're not doing the account management per se. But if I was lucky, I talked to you. I was like, hey, Jarrod, I've been watching you and Grant all over the internet, man. Like, holy shit, I want to be like you. But right now I'm at the dealership. What advice you have for me, Jarrod, right now that I could just start selling cars like crazy? How can I just turn up and 10X at the dealership?
Without the right why, you'll never have the ability to 10X because you won't know why you're doing it.
Okay.
So you can't, it's like trying to turn the switch on, it's trying to turn something on that's not going to be supported. So the first thing that I would do, like if I walked into a room and I had a new sales team, the first thing I would do is I would walk them through the exercise that I just did with the ideal life. And figuring out, dude, let's talk about reality. Let's not talk about fantasy. Because when people start making up like a goal in a dream life, it can be ridiculous. Like I've come across some morons in my life that really think that the only way for them to get what they want is to be a billionaire. Like it's not the case. Right. Like then you come across some people that are like, hey, dude, I need to be worth $1 billion, and here's exactly why. And they say it with confidence and conviction and clarity and certainty, and it's not just some astronomical number that they throw out. Once you get that thing that is exciting for somebody, then you have to work into activity, like activity, approach, and attitude. Those three things, before any tactics are in place, those three things are the most important things in sales.
That's strong.
You have to have a great attitude. You have to have the right approach.
Let's go to that.
You have to take a ton of action.
Attitude. I believe that mindset is extremely powerful. You've got mindset, you got skill set. In your opinion, would you say which is the most important? They're different. Do you think having the proper mindset versus the actual skill set, what would you say is the importance?
You know, again, we talk about the immigrant hustle. We talk about guys like Mike Bonnet. Like these mechanically, they're not the best salespeople, but they have this thing inside of them that pushes them. For Mike Bonnet, it's a game. Like that, if you can get past like I had a guy that worked for me that was Jordanian, and he was sending money back to his family, and this guy could barely speak English. He was unpolished, but the guy had so much tenacity and so much desire because his purpose was big. He had to take care of his family that was in another country, and he wanted to get them out. So you can't, like, that is something that will overcome any deficiencies of skill. Now, the game piece that Mike Bonnet, who's one of our sales guys, the game thing that he gets into, that is like the ultimate level of salesmanship, because the attachment to winning is different. The attachment to losses is different. The enjoyment of the actual activity is different. Like everything's totally different. So I believe that the mindset piece, it shouldn't be the only thing that people rely on, because Mike Bonnet's a super freak. And the dude that was working for me that was from Jordan had a very crazy family situation. So, you know, if you're sitting at home right now and you're like, well, I'm not a super freak and I don't have any crazy family situations. I've never been in jail before. I'm not hooked on drugs. I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I don't have some crazy sob story. I wasn't homeless. Like, if you're sitting back and you're thinking through, like, I don't have any of this stuff, then you need to get focused on your goals, because that will drive you, that will build a fire that burns hot. And then you need to focus on your skill and tactics.
Let's talk about that training. In the automotive industry, it just blows my mind that, you know, your job description is optional. I just was at a dealership, a Kia dealership, and they had a performance bonus for retro money that I think the number is like 150. If they hit 150, whatever, you know, units, they get $100,000. However, if they missed it by one, there's no, you can't plead to the manufacturer. You lose a whole 100 stacks because of one mistake. But yet, you know, dealers do not force accountability for training. And I don't get that. I don't believe that you should practice with real customers. So it's a dumb question. It's a layup, but it's important that intelligent people and corporations like yours share this to the world. Why is training important? Why is repetition, practice
training is important because it reduces your reliance on any one salesperson. And let me tell you what I mean. The reason that dealers don't keep their people accountable, the reason that managers don't keep their people accountable in a high turnover industry, is because they're afraid to lose people. Now, if I have confidence and faith in my training protocols and I know that I can bring somebody in, onboard them, and get them performing fast, then I have no attachment to people. Therefore, I don't have to tolerate a team. I'm on a call. Let's calm down. Yeah, thank you. If I'm not as reliant on that person, then I can force like military accountability on people. And if people want to quit, they can quit. Because in an environment like the Patriots or the Eagles or the Chiefs or the 49ers, where you have an elite performing team, there is no tolerance for average, and there is no lack of accountability. Because they know that they can kick somebody off the team, and the next day they can have somebody in there that has more hunger, more desire, probably more skill, and will probably do it for less. Right. So it's like they have no attachment to people in the NFL, and they get rid of people like it's nothing, because there's so much talent and there's so little supply of slots for players to fill, that they're just like, yep, done with this one. Bad attitude. You want to act like an asshole on the weekend and get drunk or DUI or get in a fight at the whatever or do whatever. We're just going to get rid of you. We'll cut him. We'll replace him. We'll get somebody new. Like, they just move people around like nothing, because they know we've got a system. We know we've got a team that works. And if you're fortunate to be a part of this organization. And if the companies that I see that perform really high, at high levels, are the ones who have crazy teams. Their teams perform. There's a lot of training. There's focus on the team, not just like when I say, hey, we cut people, I don't mean like we don't care about people. We care a lot about people, but we have no tolerance for people that can't fit into the way we do business. And we know that we have a great training process. So if we have to hire somebody new, we can onboard them quick. So actually, the lack of accountability can be solved by a good training process, because it allows you to have a backstop and not be so reliant on so few.
Strong. What would you say are the most important skills? So let's say I'm in. I have my why. I got the passion. I've got a justification. I've got a reason that's got a fire in my soul. I got that. I got the mindset. I'm not going to get into the huddles. I'm going to ignore the bullshit. I'm going to be proactive. What would you say are the most important skill sets in 2020 and beyond to be an entrepreneur? Be you is what you are as a car salesman. Okay, talk to me. Because podcast, you can see that. Like literally, this device right here can connect you with money.
Jarrod holds up his phone.
Like if you want to make money, this device right here can connect you with all the money in the world. The problem is most people never even make the call. They don't even show up. Like I had to follow up for almost a month and a half to get this job.
Really?
Yeah. You think it was worth it?
Yes.
Dude, how do you know that one customer that you do a deal with doesn't create an opportunity for you to do something that changes your life forever, but you make 2 phone calls and then you quit, or you don't follow up at all? Oh, if they were really interested, they're going to call me back. Take some responsibility for your life. I mean, like, you want to be at cause? Do you want to create things in your life, or do you just want to be the effect of what happens around you? Like, eventually you got to start making decisions for what you want to get out of life. If you want to live the life on your terms, if you want to get the things you want to have, then you need to start taking action, and you need to start being the cause and the reason for things happening in your life, and not just a bystander for things that are going on around you. And a lot of people get by in life without having intention. They get into a situation, it becomes comfortable, they don't want to change anything, and it actually creates resentment because they know that they are unwilling to do the thing that they need to do to take control of their situation and fix it. And so somebody who's making 50 grand a year in Chicago, somebody who's making 60 grand a year, 70 grand a year in Miami, like these are people who can pay their rent, they can pay their bills, but there's no money left over. And unless they change something, like you got to get to 200 in Miami to like live in a nice area, you know, like, but you can get yourself into this, the whole, like, and I used to give this example all the time because my buddy worked in nightlife, and I was like, dude, you're going to be trapped your whole life, because he made a lot of the money that he made was cash. You know, he was VIP host, this and that. And he couldn't ever break out of it because anything that he was going to move into was going to be a big hit in his income, because it was like W-2 money, like normal job. And that could have been the thing that broke him out into the big thing. And they just get stuck. And so that's what happens with a lot of people, is they just get stuck and they just think, okay, well, they have no intention. They have no reason to change their environment or their state. They have no drive. Like, it's just, it's unfortunate. I believe deep down, it ties back into personal, professional, and financial goals. And if you have clearly defined personal, professional, and financial goals, then you will constantly be looking for the next thing. You have to have awareness of it, though. Like, you have to think about it every day. There has to be something driving you for more. Even Ali, who you just had on the deal, you know, making 100 grand a month, selling, you know, freaking 130 cars a month or whatever it was, you know, like, dude, that guy is thinking about more all the time.
Absolutely.
How can I better market myself? How can I better connect with the community? How can I create better efficiencies with how I'm getting deals done because of the volume that I'm doing? How do I still provide a great experience at these numbers? Like, he's constantly thinking about all that stuff. It's not unconscious that all that's happening around him. It's extremely intentional. You know, you don't just show up at the same dealership. He's been there for 20 years. Take another guy that's been selling cars for 20 years. I guarantee you his income hadn't changed in the last 10 years. It's probably gone down. It's probably gone down over the year over the last 10 years.
So I agree. So speaking about income, so let's say that you're starting to make money at the dealership, whether it's by skill or by dumb luck or a little bit of both. What people don't realize is just because you're making money, if you don't have financial literacy and how to invest your money and how to turn around and make smart decisions, you're going to lose it. It's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. It's accumulative wealth. So you are uniquely qualified, like the dude from Taken, to be able to give some really good advice to our audience because of Cardone Capital, because you guys are a cash generating machine. So let's go say I'm a salesperson at a dealership. I got some coin, you know,
how do you define coin?
the way that old school salespeople would. I've got enough money that I could turn around and get through the month, and I got nothing in savings. So that's what I'm saying. What's the
you got like 10 grand in the bank, 5 grand in the bank.
Yeah, I'd say, you know what's crazy? I read this recently that the average American is, I think it's like less than 3 paychecks away from being freaking homeless.
The average American couldn't come up with $400 in case of an emergency.
That's fucking crazy to me, dude. I can't even fathom that.
But like that's the first problem. Like that guy or gal right there, they got $1,000, $1,500, 2 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand in the bank, and they're thinking about what to invest in. The only thing you should be thinking of if you only have 5 grand in the bank is how you can make more money. Like people they think that they're doing the right thing by shifting their focus to, oh man, I got to find these investments. I got to get in the stock market. I'm like, bro, you don't even make any money. Income is the fuel for wealth building.
Explain.
You cannot build wealth unless you have income or a lot of time. You know, if you're 25 years old or 30 years old right now and you're making 60 grand a year and you never make more than 60 grand a year, you might, if you are extremely frugal, when you're 70 years old, you might have enough money to stop working. You're still going to be living in $1,000 a month apartment, you know, and maybe when you die, you have 100 grand in the bank. Like, you know, you have to focus on increasing your income. And people, they shift their focus too quickly off of continuing to invest in myself. You need to continue to invest in yourself. You need to get courses. You need to go to conferences like our 10X Growth Conference. You need to buy training programs. You need to continue to invest in yourself until you see a significant change in your income.
So no, I heard Grant say that when I was at the 10X Auto Academy with you guys last month, and invest in yourself, invest in your business, and then kind of invest into like diversities, whether it's real estate or whatever it is. So let's just go back again, because I want people, because this is a question I get a lot is, okay, what do we do with the money? So let's just go through this. Let's say I'm averaging, the national average I said is 10. So let's just say I'm at 14, 15 cars a month. I'm doing $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. Again, if I'm hearing you correctly, which I definitely agree, is instead of trying to like scroll it away, not have anything there and like misstep, thinking that you're doing something right, invest in yourself, get more training, more education, expose yourself to, you know, stuff that you can never take away. Because I believe like you, that like once you have the knowledge of how to make money, you might lose it, but you have that knowledge how to make it back.
Sure.
But if you've never been developed and the lucky strike goes away or your change of circumstances happen, but you don't have the knowledge of how to rebuild it, you're fucked.
Yeah. And so like I didn't make my first investment with Grant until I had 100 grand in the bank. So that came because I was sleeping on an air mattress. I was driving a car my mom gave me. I drove like 1997. It was like Burgundy, a Lexus GS 300. It would like the gauge cluster would like while I was driving would like turn off and like the car would like, and I'd be like, you'd lose power steering. I'd have to like, you know, rush to get the car back running before I crashed. Yeah. But I did that for a year. Like I was making 10 grand a month or 12 grand a month in residual income. That means it shows up because I built a book of business, like an insurance. I was making that money and it was going to show up every month, regardless of whether I sold a deal or not, would sell a deal or not. I got to that point and I had 100 grand in the bank before I went and leased a car and my payment was $549 a month.
Wow.
So people are like, oh man, I got 25 grand in the bank, and they go out and get $1,000 a month car payment. It's just stupid. They're missing the proper education about money and how much money you really need. Let me tell you something. One of the most depressing days of my life was also one of the happiest days of my life. When I finally got to $1 million, like in actual, like income that created investments that then turned into, like actual, like net worth.
Right.
And then I realized I'm like, this is no money. Like I realized, like I was like, I thought my whole life, and people probably listen to this now going, man, I wish I had $1 million. Yeah, I wish you do too. Because then you'd realize how little $1 million really is. Dude, you got to work. Like you got to get to probably like in all reality, if you were investing and you had your money working, you probably need to get, because your lifestyle will change. You probably need to get to 5, 6, $7 million a year invested in investments that produce cash flow every month before. I'll put it to you like this. I got almost $3 million invested with Grant and I make about 12 grand a month. $3 million for 12 grand a month. Like I can't live on 12 grand a month in Miami. Like I can't quit my job right now.
Yeah.
So it's like now over time that'll compound and work. And 15 years from now, that 3 million is probably going to be 12 million. Right. But so that's working, but like, I can't quit working now. Like I got a wife, I got 2 kids, I got a kid, I got another kid on the way. Like you need to get your mind right about money and how much money.
Wait a minute. Slow down. I'm keeping pace with you, but you're killing me. This is fucking awesome because nobody has this type of subject matter expertise in at least our industry. That's why it's a hot mess. So again, what I find, to your point, is that people make a little bit of money and they spend that shit. You on the complete opposite extreme, which that's even new for me to hear. I've heard that, but to actually know somebody that has that investment but only lives off of this. I just heard Grant he was on Greg Lundy that I watched that episode. I think it was this morning, and his intro video to it, he talks about sacrifice now, and that's what you're saying is sacrifice now, and not get the fucking the Lambos or this or that or spend all that shit. I wish I listened to you guys before. You know what I mean? Like coming from me from where I'm on the streets and stuff like that. Like for me. When I started making money, I wanted to I bought the house, and then I see Grant saying like, don't buy a house, buy an investment property. I'm like, fuck, I wish I knew that before. Now I got this big house here. So
this right here.
Yeah.
I wrote a $500,000 check. This was 2 years ago. It is an investment in Cardone Capital.
Yeah.
At the time, my car payment was, I drove an Audi, a 4-door Audi. Like, and so like I could have written that check and gotten 2 Lambos.
Right.
I could have so people are going out. Like, that's why you can't get distracted by everything that's going on around you, because so many people are stretching to try to live the life now. And unfortunately what's going to happen is it's going to create bad decisions that long-term create unrepairable damage, because you get in a situation where the money that you can put away now can compound over time and can work for you. But instead you're spending it on bullshit that can't do anything for you, that has no value, that will be worth nothing.
Right.
Like, I bought a Turbo S Porsche, completely stupid. Dude, my passive income, the income I do no work for, pays for it. and the rent in my, house that we live in. Like I'm like, dude, this is just throwaway money right now. Like my game for the real estate cash flow is 20 years from now. 20 years from now, I'll probably be making 30 or 40 grand a month passive from my investments if I don't make any more money. If I don't add any more fuel, like if I don't continue to make those investments, just what I have now over, but in 20 years, I'll be in a situation where I don't have to work if I don't need to.
Right.
My goal is to get to that position a lot quicker.
So again, how long did it take you to get to this financial literacy? Because I'm assuming you first started working with Grant. Did you have these type of knowledge or skills, or is this?
Check this out. No, he told me, dude. He's like, dude, you need to get that money, that 100 grand you got. Because I remember I was so proud. I was like, man, I got 100 grand saved up. He's like, dude, you need to get rid of that money right now. Like, what do you mean? I just reached a milestone that I thought like 100 grand in the bank. I'm like, bro, like that's a grip of money. Like, and then he's like, you need to get rid of it and you need to make it work. Otherwise you're going to spend it. And he said, this was before Cardone Capital. Like this was the only people that invested with him were his brother, his sister, and his mother-in-law. and his wife, and he goes, hey, I'll let you put it with me. Put it with me, and you'll get a check every month. And, over time, it's going to multiply, and it'll be the greatest decision you ever make in your life. So when I wrote that check for $100,000, it was like, wow, like it was crazy. The feeling of that, because it was a big move right there. Because again, at the time I was making, $12,000 a month. It was residual, but I was, and I was like, whoa, I just wrote a check away for all my money. And then what that did is I'm like, I got to go make more money. And I went back and I started grinding, and I wanted to make more money. So then I got up to, and this is real estate, right? The only thing that I put my money in is real estate, because it pays me every month and it appreciates and I get tax benefits from it. Okay. That's the benefit of Cardone Capital, is you get all of those things. So then I'm busting ass. And then next thing you know, I got, another $100,000 saved up, and I'm like, hey, I got another $100,000. And he's like, well, I got a deal getting ready to close, but hey, I forgot to let you know, last week, that first deal that we bought a year ago, dude, I stole it, right? The market has improved over the last year. So I went back to the bank because we raised rents. Now the value of the property, instead of being worth, and I'm just going to make numbers up, instead of being worth 30 million, now it's worth 40 million a year later. And he goes, I refinanced it. I pulled my equity out of the deal. So here's a $75,000 check. I put $100,000 into the deal. He said, here's $75,000 back. By the way, you're still going to get that same check you were getting before every month. I almost had no money in the deal, and I was still getting paid every month. This is where this starts getting crazy, right?
Right.
So then I put that 75 in with another 100 into the second deal. 9 months later, the second deal did the same thing. Because this was in 2011, maybe 2010, 2011. So, we're coming out of 2008, and it's, everything is just like, and so it starts kind of coming up like this. So I got in 4 deals because he's like, dude, you got an opportunity right now. The timing is perfect. Make as much money as you possibly can and throw it all in this real estate. So we've had deals, like I've got one deal, that second deal that I'm in with him, he's refinanced it twice. The deal has paid me $300,000, and I still get the check every month. So like last year I got almost $700,000 because we sold the deal at 1031. So we got profit that we pulled from the deal. I got to put 400,000 of that into another deal and paid 0 tax on it. Another deal that we refinanced, he pulled a bunch of money out and distributed. It was 2 deals actually, like $100,000, 100 and change, and then 200 and change. I paid 0 tax on those deals because it's a recapitalization of your initial investment. You don't pay tax until you go over your initial investment.
So let's think about this. If there's people listening to this, obviously you guys have your shit together. You understand how would you help, people start to get financial literacy and start to make better moves with their money? How do they get a hold of you, and what's the process?
I can only tell you what I did. I can't in this particular area. I'm not a finance expert, but I know how to do the first thing, which is income. So what I did was I kept focusing on income, and I found a place that I could put my money where I know it was going to be protected. I know that my risk of loss was mitigated big time. I was getting tax benefits and I was getting cash flow. Now the first deal that I put $100,000 in, I was getting, like $600 or $700 a month or something like that. So you give up $100,000, but you get 600, and you're like, oh man, that doesn't seem like a good trade. But I'm like, well, now my car payment's handled. And then when you make the commitment over time, like looking back now, it's been 8 years since I've been investing with him. Yeah, I got millions of dollars with him. Cash flow now, I'm like, oh wow, hey, that's actually getting to the point where it could be substantial. So now I'm even more excited than ever to keep putting money in, but most people don't even get out of the gate. Most people think, oh man, I don't want to give up that $100,000, because then they have to go do something that they have to confront. They got to go replace the $100,000 if they give it up. And that is the secret to this whole thing, is you have to make money, and you have to go out and you have to chase your income. And that means you got to eat shit. That means, like, for me, that was 6 days a week. That was 12, 13, 14-hour days, Monday through Friday. And then I'd throw in 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours on Saturday. Like, eventually over time, your skill starts building up because you're out on the field every day and you're looking to get better. You're not just showing up.
Right.
That's a big difference. You can't just show up and put in the hours and think you're going to get great. Like, you have to be looking to get great. You have to be looking for opportunities all the time. You have to become invaluable to your dealer. You should be the employee that if your dealer, if you quit, your dealer would be devastated. You shouldn't just be focused on what you're doing. You should be showing up in that store every single day, picking shit up off the floor. If customers are upset, find out how you can get involved and calm the situation down. You should be like, if something's wrong, hey, this car is mislabeled or this thing's over here. You should be aware of everything going on around you. Because if you have that level of intensity with how you are aware of your environment, dude, that's the thing that's going to get you what you ultimately want.
Oof. Fire, brother. Okay, I want to redirect because I know you're extremely busy, and I thank you for doing the impromptu interview. Let's talk about Grant for a little bit, because, you know, he's obviously, you guys are close. You know, what's that like to start where you started from, and just to watch this crazy ride upward trajectory? What's that like?
It's work. You know, like I don't look at that stuff, you know, like I probably to a detriment. Like, whenever we do something great, I always try to find a way to knock it down, I never look at where we're at and say, oh man, we made it. You know, it's this constant, like, okay, like, we're capable of more. It's like a frustration that, like, dude, why isn't it going faster? Like, and that probably is a little bit unhealthy, but I think it also creates a lot of drive, and it creates, like, push towards the next thing.
Wait a minute, let's zone in on that for a second. I would agree with you again. It might seem like it's unhealthy, but I think it's the complete opposite. I think it's completely healthy. And what I meant when I said that is specifically, like, I've heard Grant, you know, I was watching a lot of his stuff recently, you know, that he says that he wishes that he thought bigger sooner. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about, is like being around that, looking at somebody that's doing all the stuff that he's doing or that you guys are doing together. But for him to say that after all this that he has right now, to say, I wish I thought bigger sooner, there's got to be a lot of, like, lessons that you're learning from him, like invaluable lessons, you know, that you could save 5, 10, 20 years from his experience.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning, like being around somebody that makes that kind of money, the types of moves that they have to make, and the types of things that they try, and the way that they think about their money, and the way that they view their money, and the way that they look and invest. Like, you know, I'm around for a lot of that. So, you know, dude, it's priceless. It's probably, you know, it's easily worth double my income here. Like, because it's like you said, you know, I could go out and I know for sure, without a doubt, I could start a 7-figure business tomorrow. I mean, I wouldn't be 7 figures tomorrow, but I know that if I had to go out and start my own deal and do something else outside of this space, I know that I could grow and build a multiple 7-figure business, because I understand the fundamentals of business. I understand sales. I understand marketing. I understand people. I understand operations. I understand scaling things. And then when you stack in the ability to think bigger, that's when magic happens. But, you know, you also have to think with, like, and I know a little bit more about Grant's story. So, like, when you're a highly capable person, you have the skill.
Right. Like,
when he was just doing workshops in automotive, you know, 20 years ago, he had the skill. Like, he could call, he had swag, like, he had everything. I think that's the thing he regrets the most, is because he's like, man, I literally had the tools in the toolbox. I had everything put together to where it should have been massive, but I got comfortable and I started playing golf and I started doing this. So when he says that, what I think that there was, if he's been doing this for 35 years, there was 30 of them where he was like, he had started really figuring stuff out and he just didn't push to the next level. And I think that's what he means by, man, I wish I was thinking bigger sooner. And so you've got to think big, but especially when you have the ability, because those are the people that change the world. Somebody just posted something the other day. And I'm going to be really crude about this.
Okay.
Because I think it was said a little bit more scientifically, but it's basically like smart, talented people have low self-confidence in their ability to do things, and idiots have massive amounts of confidence. It was like there's some paradigm. It's I'm trying to remember who posted it. Somebody posted something and it was like, there's an actual like scientific theory about this, that people who are capable and able have less confidence in their ability to do something great than people that are inferior in terms of like intellect.
That's crazy.
It's unreal.
It's counterintuitive, but it makes sense though. I
totally, because they don't think with anything else, that they're not thinking with boundaries or barriers, or like some of the best sales guys we have in here, they're not intelligent people. Like, and by that I mean like they didn't go to college, they're not academics, and some of them like some of them, dude, they don't even understand how badly they're getting rejected. Like, like so it's like the ability to just show up and just slam your head against the wall until a hole gets made. Like those are the people that do like crazy things. And that's why you see people, you're like, man, that person built $1 billion company. Like they're not, I mean, sure, they seem smart, but like, they're not that much smarter than you.
Right.
or people watching this are like, man, how did Jarrod get that gig with Grant? He's making, 7 figures and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm more talented than he is, or I'm just as talented as he is. You are. But if you don't do shit about it, you ain't never going to have nothing. And most people, like, dude, I had to take, when I went from sales manager to VP of sales, I had to take $150,000 pay cut.
What?
Yeah. I had to go from $400K down to $250. And my whole compensation plan changed. Dude, how many people are going to walk away from $400,000?
Right.
How many people are going to take $150,000 haircut?
Not that many.
Dude. So it's like, you have to understand all the things that are happening. It was a gamble for me. It was a risk.
Well,
and it paid out massively.
I was going to say, and you're still in the upward trajectory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're young.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was massively valuable. So many great nuggets. I just want to recap it. I want you to kind of just recap, from the conversation we had. Again, core audience for me and for us is car dealerships that are listening to this. Again, Cardone on Demand, Cardone Automotive Resources, phenomenal. 10X, phenomenal. But where do we start? So if you got somebody that's listening to this, they could start, for free. They could go to like YouTube, Cardone on Demand, and then they start liking the stuff. How do they get involved with 10X or with, Cardone Automotive Resources? Yeah.
So Cardone University is the thing that I cut my teeth with. It's like the audio programs, like everybody on here, you should be training every single day with an online platform like Cardone University. You should be listening to audio programs in your car to and from work. Like, you have to become obsessed. If you want to break out of where you're at, you've got to do something radically different. And again, if you aren't willing to do this, then you don't really want the thing that you want. Like you don't, if you're like, man, I'd love to make $150,000 a year. And I said, dude, write your goals down every day. Watch 3 segments at Cardone University in the morning. Watch 3 segments at night. role play and drill for 20 minutes every day, and listen to audio programs of Grant, Rules of Success, 10X Rule, back and forth in your car on the way to work. And you'll make 150 grand a year. You know how many people will bail out after 2 weeks?
Absolutely. Yes. I know exactly. Because I go through the same thing. We all do.
So I mean, it's like, it's literally, you could practically guarantee that it would happen and people still don't do it.
And not only will they not do it, they'll make all the excuses in the world why they didn't do it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Or why it's not possible or whatever.
Okay, so then as we start to close out, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of just like close out. I mean, like take all your experience, since like before Grant, during Grant, right now, and what advice people that are listening to this, they're looking for motivation, they're looking for information, they're looking for little nuggets, they're looking for blueprints, they're looking for how to do shit. So what do you want to leave everybody with? Just a synopsis of all your wisdom.
You got to get information, and you have to get around people that, like, if you show up in the dealership every day and everybody's negative and they talk shit, they don't train, they don't educate, they talk down on you for doing that, you literally have to either find a way to block everything out, be a complete isolated island, or go work someplace else. Like, you need to get around people that are supportive of this and that think like this. That's why, like, coming to the 10X Growth Conference is like, it's such an amazing thing, because everybody there is going to be 12,000 people there. Every single person there wants to make more money. They want to have a bigger impact. They want to do more than they're doing right now. Dude, you can't replace that. And then on top of that, you're going to hear great information, great stories, great strategies, great content. So it's like, you have to fill yourself up with that, because that is the thing. It may not be this one event, but you may hear one thing that 3 weeks from now, you're like, wow. Like, you never know. It's like the bamboo thing, the Chinese bamboo tree. Was it the 5 years that it grew underground, or the 2 weeks that it shot up to 80 feet? Like, when did it grow?
Right.
And so for a lot of people, they can't get past that early point in the success journey where you're doing a lot of work and you're seeing very little return, because they're impatient. And they don't have the ability to have that delayed gratification. And there's enough successful people around you that are telling you this. I'm telling you, it's the truth. You have to be willing to, like, go all in, burn the ships for probably 2 years, maybe 3, where you're all in personal development. You're all in awareness at work, trying to get better on every deal. Like, literally obsession is probably the best word for it. But it speeds up the process, because most people run out of time. Most people get to the point. I had a guy in here that was 52 years old. He's part of our license program now. He's like, dude, I thought I was making 180 grand a year, and I thought I was making all the money in the world. And then this happened, and then that happened. I lost my job, and then this happened, and foreclosed the home. And the next thing you know, he's like, I'm supporting my parents, my family, and I'm broke. And my entire life, I was operating with the wrong information. And now I'm in a position where, out of panic and fear, I have to make a move and do something.
That's serious, man. That's serious. Jarrod, listen, man, I got to thank you. Like, this whole freestyle off the top is just so valuable, because, as you know, it's not just our industry, but across the United States, there's a lot of financial illiteracy. What do you recommend for them specifically on the financial side to get more information on Cardone Capital or those type of things?
Most people don't need to start at Cardone Capital. Most people need to start with programs. Most people need to start with our Money and Finance Masterclass.
Okay.
If you go to grantcardone.com, we've got a whole thing for people, for training programs around money. The stuff's super affordable. Buy all of them if you can. Because you're going to have to watch them over and over and over and over and over again so that they really sink in. But that's where you need to start, because most people aren't thinking the right way about money in the first place. So they go into investing with the wrong mindset. So you need to go back down to, like, it would be like trying to put together a really crazy, like, playground set in the backyard without instructions. Here's all the parts. Go try to put it together. And you're like, you're going to get frustrated, and eventually you're going to be like, dude, this thing probably never was meant to even be put together.
Right.
You might maybe get lucky and put it together and use all the parts and use all the hardware? Maybe one person out of 1,000. But most people are going to quit and give up. But you get the instructions and you put the instructions in front of somebody and everything works and it comes together and they build this beautiful backyard playset, because I'm thinking about one for my kids. So
I can tell. I have one in my backyard for the board.
I'm going to pay someone to do it though.
Absolutely. By time. So the last and final question or statement is, I got to tell you, me and Karen were at our first 10X at the Marlin Stadium. That was mind-blowing to be able to fill up an entire stadium.
Yeah.
We're going to be also in Vegas. So how do people find out about 10X? How do they register and what are the dates?
We've got, I think we're down to probably like 30 seats left out of 12,000. They're all VIP seats. You can go to 10xgrowthconference.com. Kevin Hart's going to be there. Magic Johnson's speaking. Scooter Braun, who's Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber's manager, is going to be there. Brad Parscale, who's Trump's campaign manager, is going to speak. He's actually a digital marketing guy. A lot of people don't know that. Some crazy lineup of speakers. Rick Ross is going to perform. Snoop's going to perform. Usher's going to be there. So we got a pretty crazy lineup. So 10xgrowthcon.com. And then you can either buy the stream there or you can get access to a VIP seat.
Jarrod, thank you so much for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you in Vegas for 10X.
My man, appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to bradleyondemand.com and take your career to the next level.